Good evening, friends, in person and online. Thank you for joining us in our third lecture this autumn. Tonight, I'm particularly honored to present Dr. Evy Johanne Håland, a Norwegian scholar, actually a government-appointed scholar by the Norwegian Ministry of Culture. Dr. Håland is a historian. She has a PhD in history, but has been exploring different fields in the humanities with focus on ancient Greek culture. And I would like to say something very important also for the Institute. Dr. Håland has been the first student in Bergen to study ancient Greek culture back in 1979. Then she came back to Bergen from 1990 to 2008 and served as a lecturer and a research fellow in history. Since then, from 2008 onwards, she has been lecturing different universities in Europe, including our national and Kapodistrian University in Athens, having awarded a Marie Curie fellowship from 2011 to 2013. Dr. Håland has been exploring the Mediterranean since early on, 1983, especially Greece and Italy. And her main focus is ancient healing rituals. So I'm going to cite some of her monographies and publications and then say a couple of words about her lecture tonight. Competing Ideologies in Greek Culture, Ancient and Modern, 2019. Greek Festivals, Modern and Ancient, a comparison of female and male values, 2-volume publication, 2017. Rituals of Death and Dying in Modern and Ancient Greece, Writing History from a Female Perspective, 2014. And an edited volume, Women, Pain and Death, Rituals and Everyday Life on the Margins of Europe and Beyond, from 2008. Her lecture tonight, however, is drawing upon her recent publication. So it's half a lecture, half a book presentation, Women, Pilgrimage and Rituals of Healing in Modern and Ancient Greece, a comparison. I would like to say that I find extremely interesting her methodology and the way she's approaching rituals from a female perspective, because indeed there are not so many male sources speaking about women carrying out rituals in antiquity. So Evy will discuss how to apply modern rituals in Greece, rituals in modern Greece in order to understand and compare with the antique rituals, drawing upon historical sources and material culture. So with great pleasure, I would like to welcome you, give you the floor, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation. This is a long-awaited lecture, and we're very happy to have you with us tonight.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Lilia. Yes, as she said, my talk today is based on my recent book, Women, Pilgrimage and Rituals of Healing in Modern and Ancient Greece, a comparison, which presents a new method to the study of antiquity, ethnographic first-hand fieldwork combined with studies of ancient sources. The background for the project is the problem regarding how we can come to understand such mainstays of ancient Greek culture as its healing rituals, generally carried out during festivals and rituals connected with life cycle passages when the male recorders did not and could not say much of what occurred, since the rituals were carried out by women. A way of tackling this dilemma is to attend similar healing rituals in modern Greece carried out by women and compare the information with ancient sources, thus providing new ways of interpreting the ancient material we possess. The project therefore seeks to look at how women have played a role in defining European societies in the southeastern corner of Europe, not by covering all possible variations, but by seeking out a very promising and perhaps surprising field of activities in which women always have played an important role, the one of dealing with pain, health, and healing. Based on a comparison between modern and ancient Greek religious festivals and rituals performed during life cycle passages and the gender spheres they represent, the work therefore aims to shed fresh light on both the ancient and modern worlds from a female perspective. And the present talk will address the interrelationship between women and religious healing rituals in Greece. But what is religion? Religion constitutes the set of beliefs and practices directed at supernatural beings and powers. This implies that lived religion is concerned not only with belief, but also rituals or action, the rituals that people do or perform, which also is conformed with Aristotle's emphasis on action in the ancient context. Both within ancient Greek pre-Christian religion and modern Orthodox Christianity, this encompasses the way humans engage through the world through the senses. In the heat and light of candles or torches lit at ceremonies, in the smell of incense in connection with prayer and incubation, in the recitation of the creeds and Homeric hymns, in the visions of holy icons and divine statues, in the kissing of sacred objects, in the tasting of various foods and drinks. In short, the metaphysical dimensions of religions are predicated on sensual engagements with the physical world. All senses are important in the encounter between the believer and her or his deities. While hearing and seeing have been treated for many years the way religion is linked to taste, smell, and touch, their effect and purpose does not have such a long research tradition. The topics, however, are important, for example, in connection with material used to make protective amulets and the gathering of various plants and herbs, and are connected with women's religion in general and the healing rituals in particular. The following will delve into some of these topics related to modern and ancient healing rituals. In two of my former books, I have focused on fertility cult and death cult, respectively. This new research draws on the same methodology, that is, using modern in conjunction with ancient sources. However, here I focus on healing. One of the reasons for this is that the presence of death may provide healing, and fertility is closely allied to rituals relating to death and to healing, the three large areas within women's purview. Little attention has been paid historically to the topic of Greek women and healing from a gender perspective, where fieldwork is of central importance and where the focus is on how we present the voices of our informants alongside the ancient historical sources. This research intends to fill this gap and therefore aims at establishing a new and heretofore neglected area of study. But why should we study women and healing? Among the modern festivals I analyze in my aforementioned books, we find the most important pan-Hellenic healing festival. The important festival celebrated on the 15th of August is called the Falling Asleep or Dormition of the Mother of God. And during this healing festival, enormous crowds of pilgrims come to the Aegean island of Tinos to be healed by the miracle-working holy icon of the Panagia, that is, the All-Holy One, who is the Virgin Mary. Healing is also important in the ancient Panathenaea, the festival of all the Athenians. It is particularly important to observe that most pilgrimage centers, a modern church or an ancient temple connected with healing rituals, are built over a tomb of a dead mediator, a Christian saint, or an ancient hero or heroine. Furthermore, the tomb is often situated inside a cave where healing water is also found. But what is healing? Medicine and healing have often been tackled together, and in the Greek environment, this is logical. The reason for this is that for the Greeks, religion is a kind of medicine because the religious rituals are performed to ensure people's health and fertility in collaboration with the dead in the underworld. The religious festivals are therefore a unique area for analyzing healing, since they are also healing festivals, and people's intention in performing them is magico-religious. This is manifested through the purifying procession, which passes through the socially defined territory. The divine or deceased mediator also possesses healing power. Many of the symbols linked to the festival are important in themselves in relating to healing, particularly the icon, which is made. It is a microcosm in itself, being made of all substances of the world. Ancient cult statues, such as some depicting Artemis and Hecate, had the same effect. Processions during religious festivals, as depicted in ancient paintings, also illustrate decorated sacrificial animals and musicians, paralleling modern circumstances in many saints' festivals. Blood from sacrificed animals, colors, ribbons, plants, purifying lemon water, candles, incense, blessed bread, musical instruments are also healing and fertility symbols. Other symbols associated with healing include nature formations at the place where the festival is performed, such as caves with springs where people fetch holy water, ayasma. Healing in this context means the way one copes with the critical transition periods in nature and human life, how people handle the life cycle passages of birth, illness, and death in interaction with each other and their divinities. The healing term encompasses purification, which is encountered in the procession, but also the healing that is critical during illness. Today, this mingling is seen in the procession on the holy island of Tinos, when the icon is passed over the faithful to heal and purify them for the next year. In contemporary Greece, this festival dedicated to the Dormition of the Panagia is celebrated on the 15th of August. On Tinos, this fertility and healing festival is crucial due to several reasons. The Church of the Panagia Evangelistrias owes its fame to a miraculous holy icon of the Annunciation, which was unearthed in a field in 1823. The miracles worked by this icon have made Tinos a center of pan-Orthodox worship, and pilgrimages are particularly made to this greatest shrine of Greek Orthodoxy during the Dormition. The pilgrimage is a kind of medical travel, and pilgrims are patients without borders. The Dormition of the Panagia is also an important ideological festival for the new Greek nation-state of 1821, as illustrated through several ceremonies during the festival, particularly the actual procession when the icon is carried from the church to the harbor. In short, the 15th of August is a special day for Hellenism, combining religion with patriotism, being a profound social event. The festival is also an excellent occasion to study the relationship between the female and male world. There are several meanings and values connected to the festival, popular and official, female and male, since this pilgrimage site is an interrelationship of history, ritual, and gender. Here different interests, sacred and secular, local and national, personal and official, all come together in an intersection of social, religious, and political life. Similarly, in ancient Athens, the Panathenea, dedicated to the protecting city goddess Athena, was the most important festival. It was celebrated by the end of the first month, Hekatombion, July-August of the official year. It celebrated the birth of the polis, the city-state, but the importance of healing is also illustrated in combination with this festival, since Athena, under her aspect as Ea, health, received sacrifice. Furthermore, many rituals during her festival belong to women's life in general, and several rituals are important in connection with the passage rite undergone by girls at puberty to prepare them for marriage. They wove the saffron yellow peplums of the goddess, which also was of a color associated with a very old Aegean tradition intimately connected with women. Today, Aegean girls use saffron to relieve menstruation pains. Among the ancients, saffron was also used in Theralia for the postpartum period logia. It was also among plants used to making the hair grow and dyeing the hair, as also is done today. Animal sacrifices can generally be understood as killing as a source to fertility from the logic behind sympathetic magic. Today, it is important that the blood from the sacrificial animal will flow into the earth through the freshly dug hole close to the sacrificial tree and its roots to ensure the continuity of the vegetable life, such as in the villages of Aieleni and Aiaparaskivi. However, the living can also fetch some of the life-giving blood from the Bal at the summit of Tavros, the Bal mountain, when they immerse their hands in the blood and daub a cross on the foreheads and palms with the blood Yatukalo for the good of it. By coming into contact with the Bal's blood, people are protected against all kinds of sickness during the coming year. The red color of the blood signifies both death and life, as suggested by Easter eggs today. While according to an ancient Greek myth, Athena gave Erichthonius a special gift of 2 drops of blood from the dead Medusa, which according to Euripides, both have miraculous power over the human body. 1 drop kills while the other heals. Like the dead mediators who particularly perform healing miracles on the anniversary of their death days, ancient goddesses and gods connected with death but also associated with healing. Strabo, for instance, tells about a healing cult in a cave connected with the shrine of Pluto and Coram, paralleling other ancient healing rituals as well as rituals linked with modern Greek saints as Aya Paraskevi or Saint Paraskevi, as shown here. Today's saints reside in their icons as the ancient divinities resided in their statues. Accordingly, today the modern pilgrims come to the sanctuary to see the icon, to touch and kiss it and be healed, paralleling the ancient pilgrims going to a sanctuary such as Demeter's in Eleusis or the sanctuary of Asclepius in Epidaurus to witness an event or seeing a spectacle and thus be seeing. In modern and ancient Greece, seeing comes before words, which means that the pilgrim can proclaim the sacred rites better with her eyes than with her tongue. In Eleusis, the goal was indeed to reach the highest grade of initiation, the highest grade of initiation, epoptia, to be epoptis, the one who sees, and epidaros, what one would seek to encounter the god in a vision to be healed. The cure, as here in the sanctuary of Amphiaraos at Aropos, followed a ritual during which patient washed in a sacred spring, offered at an altar, and then retired to a stoa, a porch or portico not attached to a larger building, or epidodian abaton, a place in a sanctuary where no one could enter without special permission, where the mysterious process of incubation, ecomesis, was assisted by incense from the altars. This unreligious excitement produced dreams through the medium of which Aesculapius was supposed to cure. Seeing also includes all the famous voti gifts today, paralleling the ancient equivalents, illustrating the efficiency of the pilgrimage. Demeter as a healing deity has not been emphasized much in earlier research, but is inter alia illustrated by her relationship with Aesculapius, especially in connection with the cult at Eleusis. The same concerns Athena. Both goddesses were the recipient of numerous voti gifts, most probably predominantly from women. A material from the modern context therefore may broaden the picture from the ancient world through a comparison. Furthermore, in modern Greece as in antiquity, pilgrims sleep in the court of healing sanctuaries, hoping to have arisen and be healed by the deity, the modern saint paralleling the ancient healing god. Today, the bones of a saint are especially important, since the color of the bones of the dead foretells the future of the living. The condition of Aios, that is, Saint Gerasimos' corpse 2 years after his death, clearly signified his holy character, as was also the case with Aios Nectarios and Aia of Saint Pelagia. In this connection, the smell is also important, since a condition for sanctity is not only the color of the bones, but also that they exude a pleasant, sweet, and heavenly fragrance, paralleling the smell the women in Eleusis felt when Demeter revealed herself. The light around her parallels the light around the Panagia when appearing in a vision for the nun Pelagia on Tinos. According to believers, the cotton wool which has come in contact with the holy skull of Saint Pelagia has thereby obtained some of its sweet smell, an important sign of its sanctity. Although for a non-believer might claim that the smell derives simply from the lemon-sprinkled cotton with which the nun wipes off the glass top above the skull. For the faithful, however, it is treated as an important amulet. Moreover, amulets made by nuns on Tinos today contain cotton which has been in contact with the holy skull of Aia Pelagia, dried flowers from the epitaphos funeral of Christ, and earth from the hole where the miraculous icon was found. How will this relate to the ancient period where colors, amulets, and sacred objects, smells and visions, or the encounter with the divinity through a dream was also important to be healed? In the very beginning of Homer's Iliad, we are presented to the meaning of wool on a staff, which in a wider context is connected to hair, life, and healing. During religious rituals, the tasting of bread and various drinks, such as the ancient Eleusinian sacred drink kykeon, a special mixture made of mixed barley meal, water, and pennyroyal, is central, and all these being important healing remedies within the pharmacopoeia. Pennyroyal, for instance, has a close link with sexuality and female functions, according to our sources. It cures several ailments such as nausea and intestinal complaints. The plants may also be taken as an emmenagogue and is inter alia used by women to stimulate the menstrual flow. Furthermore, both in the ancient and in the modern worlds, goddesses or saints preferably reveal themselves to female worshippers. Since the healing rituals in general are connected with the domestic sphere where women are the dominant power, presenting the female sphere from a female perspective, will help us to deconstruct the ancient male-authored sources which present persistent male views about women and the magic healing rituals. In the so-called patriarchal Mediterranean society, women are associated with practical religion. In Greece, women are the guardians of their family's spiritual health, given the role of prayers and vows in healing and protection. Thus, women light the oil lamp in front of the family icons, and parallel ancient women also taking care of the household cult. The relations with the divine powers are everyday activities. Fertility cult, healing, and death cult are deeply connected with the domestic sphere where women dominate. The female sphere is crucial when studying such personal phenomena as ideologies and mentalities represented by religion, behavior, customs, values, worship, popular beliefs. We also discover that what we usually call macro and micro society, that is, the public and domestic spheres, may have different meanings than those generally assumed. In Greece, we do not find a little society or only the family at home. Rather, this is where we meet a great society where the decisions are made. Hence, it is important to search out to what extent the official ideology is dependent on these cults and so on the female sphere to manifest itself. The male sphere is usually connected with the official world and the female with the domestic world. But this does not imply that the female sphere is marginal and the male not, as some scholars have claimed. Marginalization is a spatial metaphor and depends on where you are standing. Thus, the center in a Greek village can be both the central village square, the man's world, and the kitchen hearth or courtyard, crucial spaces that women control. When studying Greek village life, anthropologists have considered the two spheres of male and female importance in terms of public and private, home and outside home. There are, however, public spaces where women dominate, such as the cemetery. Women are also the main people going on pilgrimage to ensure their own and their family's health, as I also did formerly, as during the Adonia and Thesmophoria. So when working with this material, one realizes that the division between female and male spheres in Greek society may, under certain circumstances, be blurred. The world of the domestic and familial, the female sphere, covers a more extended area and has greater power than has generally been assumed now and earlier. Greek women have mainly been analyzed from a Western male perspective. Based on this approach, Greek women have been categorized as lacking freedom, dependent, secluded, and not living a full life. Accounts of women written by men and by many academic women portray them as passive. But if the goal is to conduct research from the female sphere in Greece, the picture may be different since Greek women may have other values. Thus, we may gain new perspectives on our ancient sources. Healing rituals are primarily linked to the female sphere, and since I wander both in the female and male spheres during fieldwork, while conducting parallel research on ancient texts mainly written by men, I compare the modern and ancient material, and I hope my researches may be a contribution to a female perspective on ancient texts. In Greece, women are connected with birth, nurturance, and the care for the dead. They are nurturing mothers, and by their activities as caretakers, they manage and control the fundamental cause of life. Many symbols and rituals in the festivals illustrate this and are regarded as belonging to the female domain. By analyzing the healing rituals then, the hope is to gain further insight into the meaning and importance of the customs and values related to fundamental principles within the ideological entirety that constitutes the festival and into male texts, since their interest and theme is the male ideology. They must therefore be deconstructed and considered from a gyno-inclusive perspective by examining them in conjunction with information from the female sphere. According to Plutarch, women in Greece have a double consciousness about their own existence and about man's representations of it. Therefore, it is of vital importance to conduct fieldwork among women and men when working with ancient sources, since they, with very few exceptions, are written by men, and the goal is to present a complete and not a lame and partial society. Thus, it is important to compare the male and very few female-produced ancient sources with information from collected from the modern and female spheres. Is the information found in a few sources produced by women such as Sappho consistent with information given by ancient and modern man, or are these sources more in accordance with the information given by modern women? For example, in relation to rituals performed in healing contexts at home and during pilgrimages. The ancient femme fatale, Helen of Troy, was renowned for her knowledge of drugs or pharmacon, and the handling of pharmacon is a typical female task. She had a skill of healing drugs from another woman. How will male produce texts, often critical and simultaneously paradoxical, but mostly inadequate information about women carrying out healing rituals, be understood from a female perspective? For women, what is termed witchcraft by man may be an acceptable way of practicing healing. Here one may remind of the importance of smell or a heavenly fragrance in connection with sanctity and healing. In ancient sources, the good smell was connected with Olympian gods, as opposed to the stench and decay connected with the Chthonian Furies, according to the archaeologist Aeschylus, who also associated them with snakes, women, female, dangerous, and unruly aspects. The Furies, also called the Erinyes, the demons of death, however, were also worshipped as Eumenides, kind spirits, and seen as the Semni, the holy or august, with power over life and death, and thus the fertility of the polis, and may have been particularly worshipped by women by dedicating them meals. Even if the healers we read about in the male-produced sources are men, be they snake-born men, priests, or a god, certain female divinities loom in the background. These include Hecate and Circe, although they are more famous as witches. Another is Medea, who once was spilling out her drugs and so made Hecate abound in healing herbs. She also had a power to enchant snakes. According to Euripides, it was the custom of Athenian mothers to protect their babies with golden amulets in the form of snakes. It might be possible to find out more about women's real connection with the healing of, for example, snake bites by reading the male-produced sources in combination with comparative material from later periods and other cultures. With few exceptions, such as the snakes of the Panagia in the modern village of Markopoulo on the island of Kefalonia, and ancient fertility goddesses, female divinities are generally negatively perceived in connection with snakes, as if this suggests they use their power maliciously. Furthermore, the pilgrims arriving in ancient Epidaurus were presented to stelae telling about the healing miracles of Epidaurus. Their arrangements were certainly not unintentional, since the first two inscriptions told about Aesculapius as provider of midwifery. One may wonder if this propaganda was due to competition with wise women and female midwives, who have been the managers of this system both in antiquity and until modern times. It reminds some male medical doctors writing on the birth sphere, which does not mean that by writing theoretical works on the topic, they also appropriated the sphere, as scholarship has argued they did. Perhaps it rather indicates that wise women and midwives were Asclepius' strongest competitors. To shed new light on these topics, it is important to compare ancient miracle accounts with the letters mostly from women telling about miracles that are found in archives or modern pilgrimage centers, and talk with the women going to these centers. Many archival sources today illustrate people being visited by the Panagia in visions or dreams, similar to the ancient testimonies to successful healings, yamata, that was inscribed on stelae and hung on walls in the temple of Asclepius at Epidaurus. We also have motifs from Corinth and from Athens. Many ex-voto tablets to Asclepius and Aegea have been found showing the portion of the anatomy treated. These were fixed to a wall or in columns. Larger votive stelae, some showing the god visiting sick patients in their sleep, were fixed to the stoa steps. As this image shows, Aegea supervises her father's healing procedure in the background, a topic which is important to stress. Furthermore, the picture illustrates the healing of a woman and might be a parallel to one of the stories from Epidaurus or elsewhere in the ancient world. It is also crucial to reconsider ancient sources telling about male deities taking over the female cult, such as Asclepius' appropriation of the healing power of goddesses as Aegea and the water nymphs, as in the Acropolis cave where the Panagia or the life-giving spring is worshipped today. It is also important to observe that his iatric healing daughters are personifications of functions. Panakia, for instance, is the universal remedy, actually an all-healing herb. In a healing scene from Aristophanes, she is also related to the color, ascribed to the red color healing power when covering the head and face of an ill person with a purple cloth. Originally, she was like her sisters, an independent goddess, and was linked to the god of medicine only later. One may wonder whether the male elements in the classical period and later, such as the power of Asclepius, nevertheless, together with his daughter Aegea and his other daughters, were intermezzo's. In Greece, springs in caves have indeed traditionally shaped religious beliefs and practices, and when focusing on healing springs in caves such as the mentioned Acropolis cave, we learn how the power of the place is illustrated by a sacred center offering direct contact with the divine, then relocating that center in a human body, making the divine even more accessible and responsive to human beliefs and aspirations. In connection with contemporary Greek water rituals and their relations to ancient pre-Christian traditions and sites, this is important. Formerly, springs represented water nymphs, and today, springs are dedicated to the Panagia in her identity as Sodoros Pigi, the life-giving spring. Ancient and modern believers have expressed their beliefs in rituals connected to purity and water by fetching holy water from the caves dedicated to these female divinities. The way earlier cult places natural phenomena are adapted to the Orthodox religion through the importance of the cave shrines can be seen as emanating directly from the matrix of an animate landscape. The water is thought to be particularly healing and purifying during the festivals dedicated to the Panagia, such as the contemporary celebration of the life-giving spring on the first Friday after Easter Sunday in Athens. During this celebration, Athenians come to the Panagia's chapel inside an ancient circular spring house that was hewn in a rock on the southern slope of the Acropolis to fetch life-giving water. The sacred spring is situated inside a cave over which a church was constructed. People claimed to be cured of allergies, eczema, or arthritis, illnesses that doctors could not diagnose, ailments, nervous problems, and also credit pregnancies to the spring water. Or in the words of one of my informants, the sacred water cures all illnesses from the stomach up, including the head. The modern practices may be compared with ancient evidence and also similar cults found in parallel non-Greek contexts while seeking to clarify the ancient world. Thus, by bringing ancient and modern words into mutual illumination, we learn the issues addressed are relevant beyond the Greek context. So through investigation of similarities in different periods as well as analysis of modern Greek rituals to understand the past and vice versa, we learn that the two periods can illuminate each other. We learn that people's worldviews of themselves and their deities are a product of the relationship between nature, society, and in this context, water. Accordingly, the religious and cultural uses of water to express essential truths of humanity and the relationship between humans and deities clearly differ within civilizations and religions. Concerning religious rituals and beliefs in connection with water in general and the healing capacities of water in particular, it is also very thought-provoking to see how many parallels there are between the various civilizations, cultures, societies, despite many differences both in time and space. So my research suggests a way to explore healing water and religion from a comparative civilizational perspective. It does this by giving some indicators of how particular water landscapes have shaped religious beliefs and practices, how ancient and modern religions have described and perceived water, and how people have expressed their beliefs in rituals connected to purity and healing water. In connection with the enduring importance of caves with springs within religious healing, it is also crucial to stress the meaning people assign to healing landscapes. The very location of the Asclepiae or sanctuaries of Asclepius, for instance, often in remote and peaceful environments, conform to the modern debate on the role of the environment in health and healing, since the beauty of the landscape affects the senses and thus sensory experiences. So, to try to gain a better understanding of ancient society through a comparison with modern Greek rituals, it is crucial to conduct analysis on different levels. Modern society must itself be read in order to illuminate ancient society. Additionally, ancient society must be analyzed from the sources we possess, such as a goddess receiving water gifts from a woman. Thirdly, a diachronic analysis must be conducted. The necessity of conducting comparative analysis on all levels simultaneously is self-evident. Thus, modern society can enlighten ancient society and vice versa. In this way, the book chapters employ my theoretical approach on new empirical material connected with Greek women and healing, with the aim of integrating the female component in the sources we possess to obtain a more complete view of the ancient and modern society seen through the optic or lenses of healing. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for this thought-provoking and challenging approach to what we know or don't know. Please comment, questions. Can I see?
I came from Crete this morning, where everything is led by women, although the men are supposed to be, who decides? The men. But finally, the women do everything. So it's interesting that you say how everything has been written by men too. And we know all the pottery that we have. They're depicted by men. But it's special, especially on Crete, in the villages. We were opening the peanuts. You know the peanuts they grow in the So they were first the women sat. Finally, all men sat cleaning the peanuts, and at the end, it was the men sitting there, and women have been around doing other things, chores, etc. It's nice to have it put on research to prove it. I'll send it to the Cretans. Very nice.
Well, actually, for example, I've been doing fieldwork on very much on death rituals. And for example, in the cemetery, when the women are there every Saturday morning to fix the graves and everything, then when they have finished everything, they scream, "Pater!" And he has to come and bless the grave because they have done all the work.
It's true. It's much more pronounced in villages in Greece.
Yeah, but even here in Athens.
Yeah, I didn't know all this about that.
Well, actually, the Life-Giving Spring is just up here. I became interested in, I saw it in 1990, and I was so curious. So I was asking the Acropolis authorities to give me permission to visit the cave. And I was there on Saturdays. In that period, there was a woman who always was cleaning that cave on Saturdays. And one day I was there, my mother was visiting me, and that was very, very helpful because, when I came with my mother and the mother who was cleaning the cave had her daughter with her, she was a guard at the Acropolis. So it was, and I remember the guards, the other guards, the male guards came outside and they were looking and what was this people doing in here, only women, and they felt very uncomfortable. But she was while she died, I was doing fieldwork there. One of the pictures were from 2019 when I did fieldwork there for the last time, and then I was told that this woman died the year earlier, but she had been cleaning that Acropolis cave for many years.
Do we have any questions from them?
Yes, we have two interesting observations from people on Zoom and two questions to solve the process. So one person says that in Lithuania, I hope I'm pronouncing right, but it's wrong. In Zolin, August 15 is celebrated as the feast of the Assumption of the Virgin Mary. It is an official public holiday. And another person says that in Costa Rica, August 15th is Mother's Day, also an official public holiday. Our patron saint, goddess, is celebrated a few days earlier with a pilgrimage, La Virgen de los Ángeles. She is a Black Madonna. And we have two questions. Can you talk more about the Demeter's healing properties? Is it based in her mystery cults, or is there any specific epithets that surround healing, like Athena Pioneer? And one final question, I wanted to ask which was the same in one of the slides that the people were kissing the glass where her skull was placed.
The saint who was
People were kissing the glass where her skull.
Yeah, Pelagia. It was Pelagia. This one? This is Ius Nectarius. This is on Egina on the 8th of November. So this is one of the tombs of Ius Nectarius on Egina. But there is another picture where they are kissing. This is also Nectarius, but this is when she's kissing Panagia. This is Panagia in Emerita 9 days after the 15th of August. Then they are burying the Panagia. She dies on the 15th of August, or she falls asleep, and she's buried, literally buried on the 22nd in the evening. But the official celebration is the 23rd. But there is another when she is kissing. This is it. This.
In scan, where it was the scan.
This is the same this is the same burial of the Panagia on the 22nd of August, because usually this is from the 1990s. They used to offer money but they are forbidden to do that today. But there are a lot of drachma notes on the picture. And it was another question you asked about the Athena.
Demeter's healing properties.
Athena's healing properties.
Demeter's healing properties.
Demetra's healing properties. Well, this is something that has not been done much research on, but it is, for example, the picture I showed, it is, it's a votive gift, this one. It's debated if this is someone who have been apoptis in Eleusis, or if it's someone who have been healed from it's a votive, someone who sees, who have been, for example, healed from an eye illness or something like that, or if it's someone who has seen, who have been apoptis. So this is debated. But I think that she hasn't been very much researched as a healing deity. But of course, when people went as pilgrimages to Eleusis, many of these people were probably ill for something, because that's very normal during pilgrimages. So this is something that needs more researches.
I actually have the same question about Artemis, the Ephesian Artemis.
Yeah.
You showed.
Yeah, I showed that. Yeah.
Healing properties?
Well, actually, we have the Ephesian grammata, that was from the Artemis statue, and that was something that they used as amulets. And that were something they were carrying, for example, as they had been in touch with the statue, and they carried this as amulets, as they, for example, carry this cotton which has been in contact with Pelagia's skull, or the icon on Tinos. I showed another picture by the end where a woman is moving some.
Showed us a woman collecting something.
Yeah, I know, but I was thinking about something else now. Here, you see the woman. This is the icon of Panagia on the day they celebrate her burial. And this woman has some flowers, or basil, is usually basil, that she crossed 3 times over the icon. And also she has something in a packet, which is probably an icon that she has bought and crossed 3 times over, and then she have an effective amulet. And I also showed some other pictures, or one other picture from the celebration of Emerita in Thessaion here in 2019, when everybody come with basil, and they take the basil around the relic of Emerita, to have protective amulets for the next year. As they take also holy water in the Acropolis cave and have this for the next year, and my informant showed me how much they can use until then and the date, until they come and take water the next year. Okay.
Actually, I have a question, sorry. I hope it won't broaden too much this topic, but I was thinking, in light of everything that you frequently put out with this, like, do you think that the role of women in this kind of like ritual, healing ritual, it comes from like an idea of women as a nurturing like individual, or is it something like more heritage or something more like ancestral, like when the matriarchal, there were matriarchal society, and like it was pointed in the healing ward or something like that. But what do you think is the? I hope it's not like too abstract.
Well, I don't believe in matriarchal society, neither in patriarchal. That's why I said the so-called patriarchal, because I think the world is not black and white. But but there is something in, for example, there are, when you read clean news, for example, he comes up with a lot of stuff that has healing properties from the woman's body, and I don't know, but for example, when I was a child, there was a woman who was had a lot of children, and if someone became hurt or something, milk from her would help. If that is because her milk was special, I don't know, but she had many children. So this is something that you can also find in Plinius when he comes to this, all this stuff from the female body. So, I mean, a woman who feeds a child has something that brings the child up. And of course, this is logical that you also can perhaps use this to use something. So that's, well, then it is something inherent, something that you have just because you are this person who can give birth to a child, and you also have produced things that also can heal something. So I think it's logical.
Yeah, I think also I was thinking also because women in general, but in general have a more direct approach to pain, to like I don't know, maybe I don't know how I was thinking like that.
Well, the women endure very much when they give birth. And for example, well, I have never given birth, but I have been fascinated by this because I started doing the field work on festivals. And when I started to deconstruct this festival, I saw what was inside the festivals, and I also saw that who was doing, as I said, much of the work behind the curtain, if you see it that way. So I started, when I come to a village, I started to go to church instead of going to the tavern. So when you go to the church, then you meet the women, and you become accepted. And I was doing, when I started with field work, I was more or less taught by a Norwegian anthropologist, then living in the south of Italy for 17 years. And she showed me around, and she learned me the tricks, how to come into contact with the right persons. Well, in many ways, I did something that usually anthropologists or other people don't do, because if you go to any place, you often go to a taverna, or you go to the cafeteria, or to market store, and people live there. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But did I ask you a question?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I just have a very practical point to stress. This book, and I am needed to say, it's a recent publication, 2023, right, from Newcastle upon Tyne Publications. Do you happen to have the contents on a slide?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't have that.
It might be very illuminating in terms.
Well, I have
This
a copy. This is the book. I have given it to the library.
Okay.
But I asked them to load it.
Okay.
So I don't know if you could take a copy of or I could send it or something.
It would be interesting. No, it would be interesting to see how you approach methodologically. I'm very interested.
Yeah.
to read more about your methodology in terms
Yeah.
of, you focus on the similarities. And this is, of course, a very ethnographic approach. But at the same time, it has some issues when you study local context, for example, and you see or you focus on discontinuities, for example, or differences. So I would very much like to see, and I guess many of the audience would like to learn more about your methodology, the comparative, this comparative method, and where the literature that you draw upon, and that would be my main interest in, looking before reading the book, just to, have a look on your approach.
Yeah, well, actually, I usually go from the modern to the ancient. Because if I should go from the ancient to the modern, then I didn't ask the questions the right way, I think. So, for example, a lot of North European scholars, when they come, if they go to, let's say 100 years ago, when they went to Greece, they were compared. When you work on a society, you also have lenses on, and you always have something that you compare with. And usually then, when a Northern European comes to the Mediterranean or to Greece, they compare with their own background, because that's normal. So what I tried to do then was instead to go to Greece and put on Greek glasses and see it from here as far as that is possible, because it's not completely possible since I come from there. But when I come from there to here, I can ask questions about things that people take for self-evident, because when I go on fieldwork, I remember that very well from Flamborough, a little village in northern Greece. When I could ask them about something, and they didn't know. You have to know that because you're a historian, you have been at the university for years. You must know that. And I was, no, I don't know. That's why I'm asked. But it has always been like that. They couldn't tell me because that was so self-evident. They couldn't question it because it has always been like that. And I understand this if people can come to Norway and ask me about things that I haven't been reflecting over, because that's just natural. Well, anyway, when people then came from the northern part of Europe, and I remember very well, they were struggling very hard about the Eleusinian mysteries, because that was a harvest festival, and then it had to be celebrated in the autumn. But the problem is that the harvest in the Mediterranean, the grain harvest, is not in the autumn. It is in the autumn in the northern part of Europe, yes, but not here. It is in May and June. And that was very, very difficult for people to understand. I remember I was talking about this in Edinburgh. There was a scholar there, and she was very surprised that they had a harvest at another time of year. But this is also because the climate and everything else is different. So this is very important to come up with as well. And for example, when you are studying water and water rituals, and understand that water is extremely important. Of course, water is important everywhere because we are mainly made of water. But the water rituals are not so important at all in Norway, for example, where it's pouring down all the time. When I was here doing fieldwork in 1992, there were many water rituals in the northern part of Greece because they were scared that the harvest would be destroyed. So the geography is very important, the climate, the environment, and these things are getting more and more important. People are getting more and more aware of it.
So on this note, let's continue the discussion over a glass of wine, and